We are going to paint our St. Patrick's Day tier tray kit today. The first thing you need to do is either open up the box that your kit came in and lay it down, or do like a piece of craft paper or something, because you will need to be able to dab your paint from your wedges onto your surface. Okay, there's a couple different ways that you can paint. You can go ahead and follow the picture and paint them piece by piece. I prefer to paint by color because then I don't have to worry about my wedges drying out or anything like that. So the first thing that I do is I take all of my pieces and I separate them by color. So, oops, these are all the pieces that I plan on painting white. And then I have my black pieces here. I have an orange pile, green pile, and then my gold pile for this particular kit. So go ahead and press pause and do that if you want to follow along with the way I do it. And then I'm going to show you the white color first because that will hit every technique from this kit. And then I will pause while I finish painting so that this video isn't a couple hours long. And then we'll come back when it's ready, time to put it all together. So you received 2 large wedges in this kit. One is for the green color and one is for the white color. And that's just because you have pieces that are bigger. Did I give you a large one for the black color too? If you have 3, the other one's for the black color because of the pot. I don't remember right now. Okay, so take one of the large wedges. I'm just gonna go ahead and squirt the paint directly onto my box. You will obviously be dipping inside your little paint pot. And then I am going to do this backer so I can show you the technique when you're being careful with shiplap lines. So if this is your first time, let me I don't know if that helps at all. You are going to take your wedge and you're going to dip it in the paint. I try to just dip only half of it. Then you are going to bounce up and down on a clean part of your box because you do not want very much paint at all on your wedge. Otherwise, it's going to start dripping down the sides. It's going to flood your shiplap lines. It's just going to be really annoying. So we need to be careful with the shiplap lines, but not so much with the etching of the leprechaun because you're going to be able to see that through. And even if you just saw the littlest bit of it, it's just a guide to glue down the leprechaun. So don't worry about that. Okay, so after dabbing up and down and getting most of the paint off, you're going to very lightly dab up and down on the circle. So what I do is I always start in the edge and then go towards the shiplap lines. And then as I finish this section, I will go in the middle and then go towards the shiplap lines. That way, most of the paint has worn off by the time I get there, which will minimize how much gets into the actual lines to try to keep them as clear as possible. So since I'm going so light, my shiplap lines are still clear. You can kind of see a teeny tiny bit of paint on that one. What I always do, whether I get paint in them or not, is get your toothpick and before it dries, just drag the toothpick along the edge of the shiplap. And if you had paint in there, it would clear it right out. So I do that after I complete each section, I guess you would call it. Do you kind of see how I'm starting in the middle of the shiplap, getting a lot of the excess paint off, and then lightly tapping over the shiplap line. And then once I get like half of the next section done, then and you have to kind of go slower once you get to the etching because your toothpick will follow it and then it will go rogue. So then I'm going to start in the middle, and then as the paint clears or gets lighter, I should say. And you just always expect to have to paint, especially with white, 2 coats, sometimes 3. White is a little bit harder to cover because it's so light. It's easy for your paint to look a little splotchy. Okay, once I finish with this one, we'll go to the next technique. Okay. So I will definitely need, I don't know if you can tell how splotchy this is, but it will definitely need a second coat. If yours feels a little rough, because I did such light coats, mine is already dry. But if it feels a little rough, sometimes when you add paint, it brings the wood grain up. So I included a little piece of sandpaper, and I don't press down at all. If you press down, you're gonna start distressing because it's gonna bring paint away. So I just very, very lightly go over the top, and that will smooth it right down and give you a really nice, clean finish. Okay, so I will plan on painting all the white, and then I'll go back to that and give it a second coat. But let's do these little letters. So the Kiss Me, I'm Irish. Okay, so since these are so small, that's where your little tweezers come in handy. You don't need to pick it up or squeeze it really hard. I just put some pressure on it and then just basically hold it down. Otherwise, every time and that wasn't even wet paint, it's gonna lift your pieces up. So I just pinch and then very, very lightly tap over the letter, and that's it. On letters like your, I'm trying to think if there's any, maybe S, if you question which way it's supposed to go, you can always, oh no, because that would obviously be backwards. Maybe your H, no, I don't think there is one on this. In some projects with letters, I recommend placing them where they go first, so you make sure that you are painting the correct side if they look very similar front and back, if that makes sense. This is the teeny tiny apostrophe. I tried to connect it to the I so that you didn't just have this teeny tiny piece, but it didn't look good at all. So I thought, well, we'll just have a really small piece and we'll just go with that. Okay, so this is basically the technique that we're going to use for all pieces. I'm looking to make sure there's nothing, because there's no baby wipe method in this one. So nope, it's just wedges. So I'm gonna go ahead and press pause and finish painting. Like I say, I'm gonna paint every piece that's supposed to be white. I'm gonna paint that white and then go back and do a second coat. Then I'm gonna move on to my next color. That's how I like to do it. So I'll press pause and then we'll come back when it's time to glue everything together and make our tassel. Okay, my daughter is vacuuming, so ignore the background noise. Once you get everything painted, first of all, if you have any questions on any specific piece, please reach out to me and I will either type up an explanation, like a detailed one, or I'm so happy to film like a particular spot that you're getting stuck in. So please let me know. This should never be like something you're frustrated with. You should just feel proud when you're done. Okay, so once I'm done, I go ahead and put my pieces basically together so that I make sure that everything is facing the correct way. So for instance, before I put glue down, I would want to follow the etch to make sure like I didn't accidentally glue my S upside down, because as you can see, you're going to see the etching through. It's not going to sit correctly if you don't have it where it needs to be, or if the H is like that, if you accidentally set it down like this, you're going to see the etching on the bottom part of that. Did that make any sense? So I set everything where it needs to be, and then I will glue one piece at a time. So once I set everything down, I move everything off to the side and then open your super glue, because sometimes pressure will build up in it. If you open it over your pieces, if super glue like just splurts out, it's gonna land on your pieces and ruin them, which we don't want. So let's do our pot of gold, because that is a very small, or just a couple pieces. A little super glue goes a long ways. I try to stay as far away from the edges as possible. Some of the pieces, that's impossible to do, but like on things like this, I would just kind of do an outline, but kind of stay away from the edge. Line the pieces up where they go, and then press down for just a few seconds. If your wood is really warped, you will want to obviously push it down until it's completely dry. But for these pieces, you should be fine. That's more for like the frames and whatnot. And then I'm just going to do like a little star on my clover. And then that one, I'm gonna set it over there carefully so that it can finish drying. And then let's do this March 17th. So on the 7, I'm just going to do, and I am hardly squeezing at all, because I don't want the super glue to just like come splurting out once you push down. I don't want that. So when I'm putting super glue down, I'm mainly using the gravity, and it's just coming out, and then barely putting any pressure. And then the one right there, that looks good. And then we'll press that down for a few minutes. Okay, now I'm going to show you how I do these. You can go ahead and hold it in your hand to do the super glue if that's easier for you, or on these skinnier pieces like the letters, because I plan on doing it for the Kiss Me I'm Irish. I get my box, obviously yours will be bigger, I just tore a piece off of mine, and I pour some super glue directly onto the box. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and dip my letter in there, and then I need more pieces of cardboard. And then I'm going to dip it onto a clean piece of cardboard to get most of the super glue off. And then use your etch, line it up, make sure all of it is covered before you press it down, because you don't want to see that through your pieces. And then this piece is done. It might not be completely dry, so I'm going to put, just going to rip off a bigger piece of cardboard that hopefully my pieces will fit onto. That will make it easier. Okay, and it's sticky, so now it will stay. Okay, so let's do the Kiss Me I'm Irish, just so that you can see that technique again. So with the 4-leaf clover, do a little bit in the middle, and more came out than I wanted, so I'm just going to dab it down so most of the super glue comes off and doesn't squirt out everywhere. And then, there we go. Okay, so for the kiss, I'm gonna add some super glue here. Just dip it in, dip it down on a clean cardboard, and then match it up to the edge. Press down for a couple minutes. We'll move on to the me. Press down for a couple minutes. Got a little super glue on my fingers. Okay, now we'll go to these letters. Same thing, just dip, line up, and press. And I'll need a little more glue. This apostrophe, we'll see if I can get it in without super gluing my fingers. You can use the tweezers if that helps you. I just don't have as much control with the tweezers. And so I would rather just get a little bit of super glue on my fingers than try to hold onto the pieces with the tweezers, because I will probably shoot them across the room, to be honest. Oops. The pieces are getting, or the super glue spot, I should have moved it, because now it's, part of it is wet and part of it is starting to get tacky and holding on to my pieces. Okay. Put that down for a second or two. And then this piece is done. Okay. Oh, and then as far as your banner, it came with a 3-foot long piece of string. And so I just strung it through, I did green gold or whatever. And so then I just put the string through, I think I did the front through the back, but if you want to see the string, then go through the back, front, and then you'll see a little line of the string. It just depends on what look you like. And I highly recommend, I'll show you when I'm making the tassel, get a tiny piece of Scotch tape and wrap it around the end of your string so that when you're guiding it through, it's not gonna fray. Otherwise, you're gonna go bonkers. So I will show you that technique when we do the tassel. I just didn't cut me a string for this. Okay, let's do our leprechaun. So I'm going to go ahead and do his beard first. And I'm just going to, so this super glue, this brand of super glue is super runny. I prefer using a different brand. If you're an OG to the Miss B boxes, you'll know which one I'm talking about, because it's where I used to put it in. But much like a lot of things in the world, there's a shortage. Super glue is one of them. So I get it where I can find it. So unfortunately, sometimes you don't get what you want. Okay, so for the hat part, I'm going to do the buckle first. So I'm going to squirt a little bit of super glue onto my box, and I'm going to dip the buckle in. Oops. Dip the excess off, and then line that up with the etch. And then I'm going to do the hat. You can do the top or the bottom, it doesn't matter. Just leave it right in the middle versus on the edges. And then I just pressed it down as far or as close to the belt buckle, the hat buckle, that I could. And lined up with the etch. And same thing, line this up with the buckle and the etching and press down. And then a dot there. And it should fit in there pretty perfectly. The strap, the band. Except for, let me get this. I put it in at an angle, and so it didn't quite sit all nice and flush. There we go. So maybe pay better attention than I do. Okay, then we have our cute, oh no, I almost forgot his little tiny clover for his hat. I just have it sitting off to the side. You could actually put it up here or wherever you want. Okay, let's do our tag. You can add this if you want. It's just a decoration so it's not just an open hole. I did mine gold just to give it a little bit of glitter. and then glue it down so that you can see the hole opening perfectly. And then I guess I will do my clover next since I dropped it straight into the super glue. Sometimes I do this to make sure that I have enough super glue on it. Okay, I'm not gonna dip this one because I feel like it's big enough. So I'm just going to show you, you don't have to get super glue on every surface. So I only put it on like the fatter parts of the letter. As you can see, some of the parts get skinny and I ignore those parts. So I don't have super glue coming down the side. Okay, and then I'm gonna hold that down for just a few minutes. Okay, seconds. Okay, then I'm going to move this out of the way so that I don't drop myself or dip my arm in super glue. Okay, with the Lucky Tag, you have 3 sizes of string. One is 6 feet long, one is 1.5 feet, and the other one is 1 foot. So get the 6 foot long string, and this is what's going to make your tassel. So I'm going to hold my hand like this, drape it over my palm, and I just go to like the end of my palm like this, and then start wrapping until it's done. And I have leftover, so I'm just gonna let that hang down. Okay, so then I'm going to slide this off my hand and pinch it so that it's closer to the top, not so much halfway, but closer to the top. Then take your 12-inch string, so the smallest string that I gave you, and I leave a tail out because you need a piece to tie to. So I leave a tail about that long, and then I start wrapping around as tight as I can. And you don't have to use the whole string. You can stop wrapping as soon as you want. You could wrap it once and be okay. I just like it to have a little bit of bulk just because I don't know, it adds to the look. And then tie a knot. I don't know what my dogs see. I see something. Okay. I need scissors. I'm gonna pause really quick. I needed scissors and a pencil. Okay. So you need an eye because you're gonna string through. So I just take a pencil and I just carefully go through all, Charlie is so adorable. Go through all of the strings on the top of this string. And then I basically just pull these bottom. So you want to make sure that you hit through all the string heads so you're not pulling a whole thing of string through. And then I just pull it down so that it's somewhat even. And this is what you're looking for. You need a distinct hole that you can pull through, string through. Okay, then to make the bottom of your tassel, you just take your scissors and you just cut them like that. And then I just lay them out flat and cut them somewhat straight across. I'm kind of getting off camera because I don't want to cut them right in my work area. Okay, so this is your tassel. You're already almost done. Okay, this is where the Scotch tape comes in. You just need 2 little pieces. On the banner, you only need 1 piece. But on this, I'm going to tape both ends, and I'll show you why. So I just lay my string in there, and then I just wrap it. I'm trying to make it as small as possible as I'm wrapping, kind of like a sleeping bag if you go camping. Because you just need an end to be able to string through. technically you only need to do one end, but the way I do it is two, because I like to string up. I'll show you. I'm not making any sense. Okay. Now you should have both ends looking like that. First things first. Okay, I do my tassels. I think I do my tassels different every single time. So I'm hoping maybe this will be the way I usually do it. So string through and tie a knot. Okay, so here's the thing. You didn't need to put tape on this. This is what I was talking about. You didn't have to if you just snip this off right there. But what I generally do with the brown twine, we'll see if it works with this white twine, because this white twine is a lot more flexible. So you string your first bead down, but then just to give it a little bit more grab, I guess, I string this bottom piece through as well. But I might not have put enough tape on, so I can't get it all the way through because I used too small of a piece. And then I'm going to do one more bead. This part is not necessary. Like I say, you can just trim that string off, but this helps prevent like if you didn't tie your knot tight enough and then the knot came undone, all the beads are going to come out. Does that make sense? Okay, if you don't have tweezers to pull, these are my crafting tweezers. If you don't have that, just add more tape, like a thicker thing of tape, so that you can shove it up through the bead. I did too small of a piece. This size is good. Okay, and then that will be the last piece that needs to go through. Okay, now I don't have to worry about like this knot coming undone because I trimmed it too short, and then the knot comes undone and all my beads slip out. Now it will just always be together. I'm going to finish stringing this quickly. Okay, so I got all my beads, and then you're going to take your tassel, and this is where you needed the eye. And I'm going to just thread it through like this, pull it down to the beads. Now this, I'm going to see if I can, it's so hard to film this and do it correctly. Okay, so you want to tie the tassel as close to the beads as you possibly can. So you kind of have to use your hands in multiple ways. So I hold the tassel close, and then I just go as if I'm going to tie a knot like this. So, and as I'm closing the circle, as I'm like tightening it, I'm also going to move it closer down. I can never do it when I'm holding up. I'm going to push it towards the beads. Does that make sense? So that I'm closing the circle and it is tightening when it's right next to the beads. Instead of tightening it up here, where you're going to have a huge gap, I'm pushing it as I'm tightening it. If it takes you a few times, that's totally fine. So then you can have a little bit of a gap, that's fine, because then when you, like if you wanted your tag to have a little bit of movement, you do want a little gap. If you don't want it to have any movement at all, then I would undo this and redo it even closer. But I think that that's totally fine. And then you have two choices after that. You can tie it into an actual knot and then snip it, or take this and start threading it down a few beads, because that's going to keep it tight. I wouldn't do this whole entire string. I would do maybe 3 beads and then snip it there. So there is your fun lucky tag. If you need additional video, if you need it more up close and concentrated, please reach out and I will get that to you. I hope you had fun painting this.